Please try these 10 questions by yourself first, and then I'll go through each one of them so that you can self-assess. Question 1. I can see that on the left hand side I have 2 x's and on the right hand side I have 1 x. So as there are more x's on the left hand side, it makes sense to gather all the x's on the left hand side. So I want to get rid of this x on its own on the right hand side. So I take away x from both sides. So on the right hand side, x, take away x, cancels out, or it's just equal to 0. I'm left with just the 6. And on the left hand side, 2x take away x is equal to x, and the plus 3, I've done nothing with that, so I can just copy that down. Now if I want the x by itself, all I have to do is get rid of the plus 3 on the left hand side. So that means take away 3 on the left, take away 3 on the right. Basically take away 3 on both sides. 6 take away 3 is 3, plus 3 minus 2 cancels out, leaving with just x. So x is equal to 3. It's always a good idea to check if my answer is correct. So 2x, instead of 2x, I'm going to write 2 times 3, because we think x is equal to 3, and then add 3 should equal to x plus 6, but instead of x I'm going to write 3 plus 6. So on the right hand side, 3 add 6 is equal to 9. On the left hand side, 2 times 3 is 6, and then add the 3. Yes, 6 add 3 is equal to 9, so we are right. X is equal to 3. Question 2. So in question 2, I can see that I have more x's on the left hand side. I have 4x than I have on the right hand side. So I have to choose on which side do I want to gather all the x's. It always makes sense to gather all the x's on the side that has more x's. So because it's 4x and it's more than 3x, I'm going to gather all the x's on the left hand side. So that means I have to get rid of this this 3x. I have to get rid of this 3x. So to do that, I'm going to take away 3x on this side, and I'm going to take away 3x on this side. So obviously the 3x take away 3x is just 0, and it just leaves me with the plus 7, which you can just write like this. And on the left hand side, 4x take away 3x is just 1x. We don't need to write 1x, we can just write x, and this subtract 1, we've done nothing with that, so that can just come down like that. Now to get the x on its own, I just have to get rid of the minus 1. So to get rid of that, I have to add 1 to both sides. So on the right hand side, 7 add 1 is equal to 8. And on the left hand side, the minus 1 and the plus 1 cancels out, leaving with just x. So we think x is equal to 8. Always good to check the answer out by substitution. So it was 4 times x, but we think x is x, so I'm going to write 4 times, not x, but 4 times 8, take away 1, should equal to 3 times, in the question it says x, but we think x is 8, so I'm going to write 3 times 8 and add 7. So 3 times 8 is 24, and then add 7. And on the left hand side, 4 times 8 is 32 minus 1. So what's 24? Add 7 is 31, and on the left hand side, 32 take away 1 is also 31. So yes, that is true. We are correct. X is equal to 8, and we've confirmed it by doing the substitution. Question 3. 4x minus 3 is equal to x. So again, we ask ourselves, on which side of the equal sign are there more x's? So obviously on the left hand side there are more x's because we've got 4x, and on the right hand side we only have 1x. So I want to gather all the x's on the left hand side, which means I have to get rid of this x on the right hand side. So to do that, I am going to take away x on the right hand side, and I'm going to take away 1x from the left hand side. So obviously x take away x is nothing. You can't just leave nothing but write 0. And on the left hand side, 4x take away x is 3x minus 3. Now to get the x on its own, I have to get rid of this minus 3 first. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So 0 add 3 is 3. The minus 3 and the plus 3 cancels out, leaving me with just 3x. And now to get the x on its own, I have to divide both sides by 3. So on the right hand side, 3 divided by 3 is just 1. And over here, times 3 and divide 2 cancels out, leaving me with just x. So we think x is equal to 1. So let's check it out by substitution. Instead of 4 times x, we're going to write 4 times 1. Take away 3 should equal to x, but instead of x, we want to write 1. So copy the equal sign down. 1. What's 4 times 1? It's 4. And then the minus 3 here. So what's 4 take away 3? 4 take away 3 is just 1. So as you can see, we are correct. X is equal to 1. Question 4. Again, so we're looking at the equal sign. And we're going to ask ourselves which side of the equal sign had more x's. So obviously you can see on the left hand side I've got 5x, and on the right hand side I only have 2x. So now I have to choose which side am I going to gather all the x's. I'm going to gather them where there's more. So I'm going to gather them all on the left hand side, which means I'm going to get rid of this 2x on the right hand side. So take away 2x here and take away 2x here. So this 2x take away 2x cancels out, leaving with just plus 16, which we can write as 16. And here the 5x take away 2x is equal to 3x, and the plus 7 just gets copied down because I haven't done anything with that. Now to get the x on its own, we have to first of all get rid of this plus 7. So we take away 7 on the left hand side, take away 7 on the right hand side. So what's 16 take away 7? It is 9. So 16 take away 7 is equal to 9. And on the left hand side, the plus 7 and minus 7 cancels out, just 0, leaving me just a 3x. So now we have 3x equal to 9. Now if we want to work out what x is on its own, we have to divide both sides by 3. So on the right hand side, 9 divided by 3 is just 3. And on the left hand side, the times 3 and the divider cancels out, leaving just x. So x we think is equal to 3. Always substitute the answer to check if it was right. So in the question it was 5x, or 5 times x plus 7 is equal to 2x, or 2 times x plus 16. So now whenever we see x, we're going to substitute the value of 3 in, because we think x is equal to 3. So 5 times 3 instead of x plus 7. On the right hand side, 2 times 3 instead of x, add 16. Now following the rules of BIDMAS, 2 times 3 is 6, and then add the 16. On the left hand side, 5 times 3 is 15, and then add the 7. So 6 add 16 is 22, 15 add 7 is 22. So as you can see, they are equal, so our answer is correct. In question 4, x is equal to 3. Question 5. So with this question, we could have possibly divided both sides by 2, because 2 times something is equal to x plus 2. But that's not going to be the easiest option here. Probably best to expand the brackets, because if we divide the left hand side by 2, we divide the right hand side by 2, and it could get a bit messy. So by expansion, I have to do 2 times x minus 1. So if we use the grid method, x minus 1, and then draw the grid, and the 2 goes there. So the 2 times the x is 2x, and then the 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. So the left hand side, when you expand it, you get 2x minus 2 is equal to x plus 2. So as usual, which side has more x's? So I can see the left hand side of the equal sign has more x's. That means I'll have to collect all the x's to the left hand side and get rid of this x on its own on the right hand side. So how do you get rid of that x? I'm going to take away x on the right hand side, 1x, just the 1x, and I'm going to take away the 1x on the left hand side. So this x, take away x is just 0, leaving with just a plus 2, which I can write as just 2. And on the left hand side, well, 2x take away x is 1x, so we can just write that as x, we don't write 1x. And then the minus 2 can just get copied down. We haven't done anything with that. Now to get the x on its own, we have to get rid of the minus 2. How do you get rid of minus 2? You add 2 to both sides. So on the right hand side, 2 add 2 is equal to 4, and on the left hand side, take away 2, add 2 is cancelled out, it was just x. So we now think x is equal to 4. So let's substitute that in. So the question started off with 2x minus 1 is equal to x plus 2. So now wherever we see x, we're going to say x is equal to 4. So instead of x, we're going to say 4 add 2 on the right hand side. Instead of 2 bracket x minus 1, we're going to say bracket 4 minus 1 and then close bracket. So on the right hand side, 4 add 6 is 10. Now inside the bracket, 4 take away 1 is equal to 3. Slight mistake here. So as we're saying, wherever we see x, we're going to replace it with 4 because we think x is equal to 4. So on the right hand side, 4 add 2, and on the left hand side it's going to be 2 bracket open 4 take away 1 bracket closed. So on the right hand side, 4 add 2 is equal to 6, and on the left hand side, well, 4 take away 1 is just 3, and remember this means times here, so it's 2 times 3. So as you can see, 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So yes, x is equal to 4. So instead of 2 times 4 take away 1, well, we know 4 take away 1 is equal to 3, so we can just say 2 times 3 is equal to 6.